Me on the Zoom tonight, Mr. Orlando Moore. Can you hear me loud and clear?
I can hear you loud and clear, Ms. Ross, and I'm super excited about this training that we're going to be doing tonight.
Oh, absolutely. It's the third part of the series, and it's the most important part.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. And without any further ado, guys, I know y'all been waiting patiently, and I want to commend you and thank you so much for your patience. I'm going to bring you to the line, introduce to some of you, present to the rest of you, the #1 income earner, Planet Marketing Worldwide. This gentleman became the first everything. You named it, bronze, silver, gold, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-star director, the first $1 million income earner right here in Planet Marketing, guys. We call him Mr. Fabulous, Fantastic, and Amazing, Mr. Shedrick White. Do we have you on the Zoom tonight, sir?
General Orlando Moore, I'm definitely on the line. You guys look amazing, Ms. Eileen Ross. You look phenomenal. I'm ready to serve. How you doing today?
Oh, man, I'm on the top shelf looking up, Mr. White. I'm super excited about this training.
Myself as well. Again, it's an honor to serve with you guys. And like you said, it's the third phase. So I think that, again, the people who've been with us are really going to be blessed, and it's going to help their business go to the next level.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. And so, ladies and gentlemen, to all of our Planet Marketing reps out there, all the business partners, all of you champions, I want to commend you for showing up for your success. #1, that's a big deal. You got to show up for your success, and y'all have done that. So I salute you. I commend you. We're going to jump right into this training, guys. And we already know that the last 2 weeks, should I say, this is the third week, we covered the PS3. Because as the core leadership team for Mr. Bradley and the company, guys, representing all of you, we realize how sincere, how important the basics are when you talk about the foundation of building your business. And the PS3, guys, is that foundation. That's the proven success system. Where you piquing people's interest. We covered that week 1. We showed you the different ways to show the plan. We educated you on some of the skill set, things that's required. And this week, we're wrapping it up with 3-way calls, guys, the third-party validation. And I'm so excited again because we have the superstars on the line tonight, on the Zoom tonight, guys. It's going to really unpack this thing for you. And the first thing we're going to talk about is understanding the importance of the 3-way phone call, the third-party validation, right? And honestly, ladies and gentlemen, the 3-way phone call, it really closes the deal for you. Now, let me make this distinction because some people have a misconception, Mr. White. When we say close the deal for you, you think that means you're going to sign the person up immediately. No. Close the deal for you means tie the loops, right? Between you and your prospect, we'll get a little bit more in depth with this in a second. There's trust, there's no respect. But the third party means somebody else. They trust you, but they need to hear from somebody else other than you. Mr. White, because when you was 12, they knew you to be Lil Shetty. Not Mr. Shedrick White, right? They knew you to be Lil Shetty jumping through the water hose in your tidy whities. They didn't know you as a $1 million income earner, right? So that's all they remember you as. But it takes somebody else to validate what we've talked about, what we've exposed. And guys, this process is easily duplicated in your organization. And it saves you time chasing the rabbits. Mr. White, would you agree with that?
Mr. Moore, I would definitely agree. And that's so profound because I think a lot of times what happens when people join or get started, they're excited. And again, whatever your career was, as you said, people, that's what they know you for. You know, guys, I worked in the restaurant industry. So even though when I first heard about the business, one of the things that came up, I got into the company, I was excited. I went out and I told everybody what I heard. But they didn't see me as successful. They saw me as, hey, go give me some more marinara sauce. Go give me some more food, right? So although I was doing a lot of talking, sharing the information, people didn't see me in that way. And so I bumped my head and I got a lot of people to you know, they wouldn't look at the business. I was frustrated. And then when I learned that I was doing too much talking, and I said, what do you mean? I'm saying the same thing. And then it was revealed to me, again, what you just said, people, they love you, they trust you, but they don't respect you for this. What they know you for is being a servant. So if you learn how to leverage or utilize the tools, or utilize someone, you know, by building them up, it will validate the opportunity. And now they can hear it because they couldn't hear it from me. Just like children can't hear from their parents, they can hear from somebody else, even though it's the same thing. So Mr. Moore, I think it's absolutely on point. And you're absolutely correct. And if people get this, I think it's going to be that aha, that light bulb moment. They can say, that's what I've been doing. And the business is going to go to the next level.
Indeed. And Ms. Ross, again, the fact is when you talk about the third-party validation, somebody else has to validate the things that we've shared. And again, they might trust you and know those things about you, but it really saves time when you understand the importance of the 3-way phone call and or third-party validation. Because Ms. Ross, when we say the importance of it, most people, because they are leaders in their own right, they feel like, well, I know how to do it. I can handle it. and their ego get in the way, or their emotions get in the way, and they don't feel like they need somebody else. I want to know it all. Ms. Ross, talk about the importance of the leverage piece when you talk about the third-party validation.
Well, Mr. Moore, the one thing that I really hope that people understand with our particular business model is that the beauty of it is that you don't have to do everything by yourself. There's nothing more valuable than learning and earning at the same time. So that means that third-party validation means you should be taking notes, right? When you hear the validation, when you are actually putting an expert in front of your prospect, that means the heavy lifting is being done by the expert. They can answer the questions that your prospect needs to know. Think about this. I can get a top income earner on the line. That, first of all, validates who I am as the business partner, that I have that partnership and that relationship. And now you get to see, as the prospect thinking about joining this business, that you have layers of leadership beyond me. So again, this is an area where we've got to trade our ego for equity, which is what we always talk about, and allow our leaders to help us. When we're part of the process, guess how much further we can take you, because we were there in the beginning of the activity, Mr. Moore.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. So again, guys, the first thing you got to do is understand the importance of the third-party validation. When you understand the importance of it, it's going to help you tremendously. Now, again, when we think about the importance of the three-way phone call to third-party validation, and my slide isn't moving right now. Let's see. Hold on. But the fact is, guys, again, we're going to cover these few steps. And again, understand this rule. And we talked about this when we talked about showing the plan as well. The less you say, the more you make, right? So you got to think about that. Now, I want to jump right into this. Number one, schedule the call. Schedule your three-way phone calls. Why is that important? Because, ladies and gentlemen, successful people honor their appointments. You want to schedule the call. And Ms. Ross, I know this is one of your favorites, because you always talk about, hey, brief the expert. Talk to your leader, your director, your goal builder, whoever's going to be doing the three-way for you. Let's talk about scheduling the call and what happens during the scheduling process. Ms. Ross?
Well, as you said, Mr. Moore, that's so very important, because the best way that I can conduct a successful three-way call, the best way I can help you close that prospect is by first understanding who I'm going to be talking to. So even before, when you're going to get a prospect in front of your leader, here's what your leader wants to know. Who is this person? Is it someone you know? Is it a family member? Is it someone you met on social media? Not only that, what have they seen? I want to know some background. Why would this business be good for them? And what have you shown them? I want to know in advance that we're going to talk to them, because again, I want to make sure I set aside time for you, right? And I've set aside time to make sure I give them adequate attention and information. But very important, a lot of times, Mr. Moore, I'm sure you've heard this, where people have come on, I've got someone for you to talk to. I just met them, and I think the business will be great. No, that is just not proper at all. So let's schedule it. I need some information, who they are, what they've seen, how excited are they about what you've shared or what they've seen. And that way I can come in and really give them all the missing pieces and information to validate you and this business.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. And one thing I want to talk about as well, Ms. Ross, who do I do a call with? See, it's amazing, as you mentioned, somebody talked to a prospect, potential business partner. They haven't even shown them anything, but they automatically want to get them on the phone with Ms. Ross. That person might have some objections, but guess what? Oh, Ms. Ross can change their mind, right? No. You want to qualify your prospect even. Now, we oftentimes talk about on a scale of 1 to 10, where does the prospect see themselves? And this really, what I've learned, Ms. Ross, is a missing piece. And Mr. White, what if we piqued the person's interest, we showed the plan just like we did, right? And we got to the end of it. We know what it can do to benefit them. We know how it does for them. And we ask that $1 million question, as we always ask them, what did you like best about what you saw? And see, most times we take it from there and we're ready to do the three-way call. I learned, to help you go to the next dimension, PS3 2.0, in addition, before you say, let's get that three-way call scheduled, just because they say what they like best, it doesn't mean they are a 7, 8, 9, 10. They might have loved everything, but they ain't got the money. They might say, oh man, that's amazing. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but this ain't it. So they may have loved everything. So we get that question and get that answer, and we're ready to rock with it. But we don't necessarily qualify our prospect by asking that one question. Listen, Ms. Ross, I understand you love everything about the business. If you don't mind me asking, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you consider yourself right now? 1 being totally not for you, 10 being you're ready to rock and roll and get started. And you wait for it. Mr. White, how important it is for us to qualify those prospects as well?
Well, Mr. Moore, it's extremely important that you qualify your prospects because, again, instead of you making assumptions to the point, you want to find out where they are. I call it getting their temperature, right? Getting their temperature, because once you know where they are, then you'll know if it's necessary, as you said, for a 3-way validation call. A lot of people jump just there. As you already said, they're just excited. All right, I got a 3-way phone call, but they haven't taken time to find out where the prospect is, or like you said, what are the objections? And so that's the work that you as the business partner have to do before you even get to the third-party expert. You need to find out where they are. So again, if a person says I'm a 4 or a 5, again, that just means they need more information. You need to push them to another tool or resource, or say, hey, would you be my customer? But if a person between 5 to 7, Mr. Moore, again, that means that they're still not ready, but they have questions. And guess what? I'm still going to invite them to the next tool. But if they're 7, 8, 9, my question is, well, what do we got to do to get you to a 10? And now that I know what that answer is, guess what? I got the perfect person to answer that. I'm not going to answer it. I got the perfect person to answer that for you. Then I start edifying, Mr. Moore, the gentleman bring on the line. This gentleman actually, he's the top leader in our company. This gentleman makes a multiple 6 figures. He's helping other people. And you know what? I'm just getting started, but he can answer the question. He don't have a lot of time. Right, but if I can get a few minutes of his time, right, so I'm gonna have edified and done the work. But Mr. Moore, I think it's so important that we understand once we find out that number, and if they're 7, 8, 9, that means they got something else. But now that third-party validation is gonna be essential, Mr. Moore.
Mr. White, and I'm gonna come back to that very briefly and then let you talk about the edification, because honestly, I mean, nothing against no other person, but I don't know who edifies better than Mr. Shedrick White. I've seen you do trainings on edification. So Mr. White, you just segued into that, and that's very key. Again, if the person is not, and again, y'all determine what number that is for you from your coaches. This is not what we telling you. If a person, Mr. White say, is a 7, 8, 9, 10, what do we do to get you to be a 10? If they not, they need more exposure. But Mr. White, the edification piece, my goodness, this is really what seals the deal and makes the 3-way call, the third-party validation, a slam dunk, depending on how you edify, and talk about the importance of the edification.
Absolutely, Mr. Moore. One of the things I like dealing with definitions. To edify means to build up, or another word, you can say speak of in glowing terms. And so again, people know you, but you give credibility to the person that you're going to introduce. So when you edify them, you speak highly of, but you speak about what they've accomplished, right? You don't spend 4 or 5 minutes talking about them so a person gets like, oh, okay. No, you talk in terms of what they've done, who they've helped, the success that they're having. And so you edify their accomplishments. And so one of the things I think is really important is when we edify, we understand people have different personality types. So what we begin to teach people is if you just cover all 4, right? If you cover all 4, no matter where they are, then now they'll want to listen to you, the expert. So to give an example, one of the things that we know that we have people who are, which say blue, they want to have fun. So when I make the point, I edify that this gentleman loves to have fun, but more importantly, he's traveling around the world. He's empowering people. So I want to tie the fun into how he's helping people, not just he has fun, right? Yellow are people who love to help people, or they want to save the world. So I want to let you know that, listen, this gentleman has a heart of gold. He loves helping people. In fact, he's helped over 18,000 families. They're like, whoa, my job is to build up what he's done, right? For a person who's a fact, they love their green, but they just need facts and information. This gentleman knows 100% of the facts. So any tough questions that you have, he can answer them to the T. But more importantly, you have people who are red and they want to know, okay, can I make some money? This gentleman is making so much money. More importantly, he's on the other side. Not only is he making money, but he's helping people make money. So what I want to do is edify what you've done, and speak highly of you, but edify what you've done. So now the person wants to hear from you. It's not, I can't get them on the phone. That's because you're doing too much talking about, they think you're trying to sell them. If you edify that the person is helping and they fun to be around and they know all the facts and they love to help people, why would they not want to talk to them? And so as a result, now you're saying he's personally helping me, or this person worked with me. And you know what? I've already talked to him. He said, if I find anybody else sharp, he would love to work with them. So I'm going to edify, and now I'm going to see if you're available so I can get you on the phone, Mr. Moore.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Again, guys, piquing the interest, showing the plan. We're talking about the third-party validation now, right? When you think about this, again, all the things we've talked about thus far is something I call the success triangle. And Ms. Ross, I know you love this part because the fact is, between you and your prospect, there is trust. They know you won't do anything illegal, immoral, nor unethical. They might not respect you as a businessman or businesswoman, and that you can show them how to be successful in this particular business. Me, for an example, they knew me as a soldier, 22 years, decorated. They knew I could lead troops. They knew I was a drill sergeant, air assault school instructor, you name it. But they didn't respect me when they saw me in a suit. They never seen me in a suit. They saw me in uniform, camouflage, dress blues, greens, right? So when you think about that, guys, trust between you and your prospect, then there's a respect between your expert and your prospect. Why? Because of what Mr. White just talked about, the edification. And that's key, Ms. Ross, because the edification came from somebody they trusted. So they believe what you said about the person. Now, we want to make sure, Ms. Ross, this is very key, we don't edify, we edify. Because some people can over-sensationalize. You don't want to do that, guys. You don't have to over-sensationalize the business or the person. But Ms. Ross, how important is that trust? And we build in a success triangle, trust between the person and their prospect, the edification lends the respect of Ms. Ross, who they don't even know, but it leads to success. Ms. Ross, talk about that.
I certainly will. And I love this part of the three-way call because, so like, as you said, here I am as the expert. Now, my business partner has a prospect on. And again, the only reason the prospect is on is because of the relationship with their friend, the business partner. Okay, Cindy, I'm going to get on this call with your leader because I trust you. Now, last week you were a preschool owner, but today you're a business owner in travel. Okay, I'm going to support you. Now, here's another key fact I think most people don't realize. Do you know how often I've been on a three-way call as the expert and the business partner did learn new things about the prospect that they wouldn't have told their friend, but they told an expert? I'll give you an example. I was on a three-way call with someone, and the prospect, my business partner, said, I want you to talk to Renee. Renee, she's seen the information. She loves to travel. She's got a great job. She's got kids. She may not be interested in the marketing side, but, she's really, this is why I believe this will be a great fit. And this is what, I know that she enjoyed about the presentation. I get on the phone as the expert. Of course, my business partner edifies me. And I asked the young lady, Renee, oh, hey, tell me what you like best about the information. She says, you know what, Ms. Ross, I'm going through a divorce right now. I just lost my job and I need multiple streams of income. Think about that. I learned something about the prospect that the friend didn't know. That's where that respect comes from. Because I was edified properly, that prospect realizes, wait a minute, this young lady is a 5-star director and she's making $500,000. You know what? My friend may not be making that right now, but she introduced me to someone that has made it. That is where I want to be. So now that partnership between my friend and this expert really has my attention. So again, the trust is one thing, but that respect, when you edify properly, it opens up a whole new world and window for that prospect. And then again, that's where that success triangle comes into play and is fulfilled. So it's really, really important that you follow the steps exactly the way that it's laid out, because you'll have a higher level of success because of it. Mr. Moore?
I love that, Ms. Ross. And guys, again, for that person out there right now who watching this training saying, well, I don't have access to Ms. Ross to do my three-way. I don't have access to Mr. Moore. Mr. White gave you the key, and I want to reiterate it. Edify their accomplishment. So even if it's your first line gold builder, even if it's your brand new bronze builder, they might not have the documentation, but you still can edify their accomplishment. So it works in different levels, guys. So please understand that. It doesn't matter what the edification is, it's about their accomplishment. And I'm gonna give you a quick example because we want to help every single person. That brand new person who just got started, I can edify them. Hey, Ms. Ross just got started in this business, but she has already positioned herself on the money-making side of this $8 trillion industry as a merchant, not a consumer. So Sally, when you partner with Ms. Ross, you're gonna have access to me as well. You see how I edified her? And guess what? Your expert is gonna edify you, just like you edified them. They're gonna throw it back to you because your person that trusts you, remember Mr. White from the Tidy Whiteys jumping through a water hose. Now when I turn around and say, well, this gentleman is the first $1 million income earner, whoa, because you can't beat your own chest, the expert can. Ms. Ross can't beat her own chest, you can. When you understand the power of that third-party validation, that success triangle, ladies and gentlemen, it's called game over. Now, here's the final step. It's time to execute the call. It's time to execute now. Now, this is the biggest challenge, Mr. White, that a lot of people have, picking up that 2,000-pound phone. Pick up the phone, make the phone calls, guys. And what I learned, Ms. Ross, as well, the majority of the people who have a problem doing the 3 ways is because they never went through the first 2 steps. They didn't pique the interest. They didn't show the plan properly. And they didn't do all the things we talked about. They didn't qualify the prospect. They want somebody else to do all that for them. Guys, you got to do the work up front. Mr. White, how important is it to do the work up front and then we execute the call, which is really the icing on the cake, in my opinion?
I agree, Mr. Moore, but I think it's absolutely everything. It's so important that you set it up the proper way so that you get the proper results. And again, as you have on the screen, one of the things that people have to understand now that you've edified your expert, you want to set up that time as Ms. Ross talked about. And now what you want to do is once you connect, you want to just do a brief introduction. So as an example, I might say, hey, Ms. Ross, the gentleman I spoke to you about, Mr. Moore, we just happen to get a few minutes of his time, but I'm so excited. And again, I already edified him. But what I'm going to do is make the bridge. I'm going to make the connection. Ms. Ross, I want to introduce you to Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore, I want to introduce you to Ms. Ross. And then guess what? I'm going to mute my phone and I'm going to be quiet. And as you said, take notes, because this is where you learn that what people got to understand, this is where they're training. You're going to start out, instead of trying to speak or interject, you're going to start out the student. But if you do enough and you learn enough, you're going to take notes. And eventually you're going to listen to what they say and take notes for your growth. Mr. Moore, back to you.
I love it. Ms. Ross, be taking the notes because the expert gets to handle the objections. See, that's why I learned how to handle objections as I was taking notes on a 3-way phone call. And some people don't even do that. So add that to your repertoire. Somebody out there had an aha moment just then. You say, y'all take notes on a 3-way? Yes, guys, because the expert is going to handle the objections, whatever it might be. Whether it's time, whether it's a pyramid, Ms. Ross, talk about how important allowing the expert to handle the objection. We take the notes, and then the expert is going to ask for the check. Ms. Ross.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, we're gathering, it's called intel, and that's one of your military words, right, Mr. Moore? It's the intel. It's now, as a business partner, you are learning. You're going to be able to duplicate this. But now, as we're having this conversation with the prospect, as we're understanding what their objections or their concerns are, we know how to actually address those, right? Whatever it is. And now I love it because after we get all the questions answered, the expert is the one that's going to say, all right, now, what is going to take for you to get part? Are you ready to get started with us? We want to help you again, do the heavy lifting. We want to ask for the partnership because that's the whole purpose that we're on the phone. A lot of times people get so uncomfortable, like, I don't necessarily want to ask them for it, right? With the 3-way call. I don't want to ask them about partnering. No, that's the whole point. Now, here are a variety, there are only 3 answers when you ask for the decision. Right? It's either, yes, I'm ready to get started. Great, we're gonna get you started. No, it's not for me. You know what? Thank you for partnering. But then there's that, I need to do some research. I need to talk to the spouse. I need to put some things in order. And let me tell you something, Mr. Moore, I think it's very, very important. Most people don't follow through with the follow through. You have to get a date. Even if people are saying, I need to think about it. Okay, today is Wednesday. How about I give you a call back either tomorrow at 7 or Friday at 7? Which of those 2 times are best for you? So, Mr. Moore, I think that it's really, really important that when you treat this like a business and you're looking for business partners, you're not trying to get people to do anything, but you are trying to gather information and get a decision one way or the other. Does that make sense, Mr. Moore? I mean, making sure we know. Tell me yes, tell me no. tell me something, I've got to go.
Indeed, Ms. Ross, and I love that. And again, guys, take the notes on the three ways. I promise you, there are only a handful of objections. And some people mistake objections for rejections. Is not the case. But the expert is going to handle the objections, guys. They're going to ask for the check, and then we're going to schedule a follow-up date. Whether it's a follow-up date or time to get started, if they're ready to get started right away, guess what the expert going to say? Well, listen, congratulations in advance. Ms. Ross is going to go ahead and get you put into the system. You're going to get a couple of emails, might give a little back brief, right, of what's going to happen. Congratulations, I'm very proud of the decision you made for you and your family, right? Or the follow-up date might be, as she mentioned, hey, well, listen, I need to wait. Give them options. We're trained to receive options or make a decision from options. Great. You need a couple of days? What day works best? Wednesday or Thursday? Guess what they're going to choose? Wednesday or Thursday? Great. Thursday, morning or afternoon? Guys, you schedule in the follow-up, because guess what? The fortune is in the follow-up. And even if they say, well, hey, I'm ready, but I don't get paid until next Friday, I'll be ready to rock and roll. Guess what you want to do? Get that date in writing, but go ahead and get them inoculated into the system. That's, again, 2.0, Ms. Ross, Mr. White, that people hadn't been doing. And what do I mean by that? Real quick. That person sets the date, they're excited. If you don't follow up with them, if you don't begin to give them assignments that's going to help them build their business, something as simple as, great, Mr. White, congratulations. I know you will get started on next Friday, but here's what I want to do to help you go ahead and get ready to be launched. Let's go ahead and start writing down a list, just the top 5 people. I didn't say 100, 1,000. Ms. Ross, I love the illustration you always do when people start stacking stuff, say, hey, do this, do this, do it. No. They gave you a day. Hey, let's get your top 5 people that you know who are sharp like you, smart like you, would appreciate the opportunity and can afford the $200. Who do you know like that? It might be 3 to 5. So go ahead and get them inoculated. Great. I know you're going to get started next Friday, but I would love for you to plug into our winning culture and environment so you can see what's going to be conducive to your success. Man, Wednesday night, we have a training. You're able to jump on, get them plugged in. Mr. White, how important is the follow-up date that we provide to the prospect and or brand new business partner? Again, following up as we call
Mr. Morris, everything, and you and Ms. Ross did an amazing job. So the fortune is in the follow-up, and a lot of times there's no need to go through the process if you're not going to follow up. Everybody's not going to be ready immediately. So it's important that you do your job of following up. But I do want to mention one thing. One of the errors I see a lot of people make, and I want to bring this up because a lot of people do this. For instance, let's say the person says, I'm ready to get started, right? And so Mr. Morris says, well, congratulations, Ms. Ross is going to get you started. And so they're going to call, and then they have a question. They proceed to try to answer the question. And now what happens is they talk the sale away. They start doing more explaining. So what I encourage you to do is anytime a question comes up, still be, look, hold up, you know what, let me get Mr. Moore back on the phone. Or hold up, let me get Ms. Ross back on the phone, because you have the person that's ready. But again, it's okay to let them know, because don't do what works, do what duplicates. And it's about duplication. But when you do a lot of talking, you talk them out of the business. And so the follow-up is everything. The fortune is in the follow-up. And one last thing is if Mr. Moore says, well, hey, listen, I want to invite you to tonight's or tomorrow's presentation. This is your prospect. You want to make sure they get back on the line with Mr. Moore or back on the line with Ms. Ross. Why? That's what your job is. You're the connection. Mr. Moore got thousands of people. Ms. Ross got thousands of people. But again, he may say, well, look, I want to talk to you tomorrow after you get on this webinar. They get on the webinar and then set up again, Mr. Moore, hey, I got Ms. Ross. I just want to circle back around and again, put your phone on mute and listen. But the follow-up is everything. And I just want to put those 2 points in there because I see a lot of times people do most of the things right, but do that one thing and continue the conversation. And last thing, when the call is over, make sure that you hang up the phone. Don't you keep it up. And even if you're friends or whatever, don't continue the conversation. When your expert hangs up, you just continue the phone. And if you got to get back on the phone, you call back at another time. But when it's business, don't go reclose once your expert has closed. Mr. Moore.
Oh man, that's key, Mr. White. I'm so glad you said that. And again, guys, we just want to share with you a few nuggets about the third-party validation, 3 or 4 calls. And there's so much that we could continue to give y'all, honestly, but we want to keep it in this 30-minute time frame. Ms. Ross, close the comments, ma'am. And again, thank you so much for your leadership. Close the comments as we wrap up today's training.
Absolutely. And I don't think that there's one little thing that I think we didn't touch on either. We talk about edifying, but we make sure we edify the expert, definitely more than you edify the prospect. It's Mr. Moore and your prospect is Eileen, right? Making sure you really put your prospect, I mean, your expert on that pedestal of superiority in this business. So making sure that they understand, and making sure that there isn't a balance there. You have an expert on. Mr. Moore, you're absolutely right. We just scratched the surface. There's so many things that we can talk about it, but we gave you the basics, what you need to get started in making sure that you do a proper three-way call, including your expert, following those steps. And as Mr. White said, when it's done, don't undo it. If it's all complete, let it ride. Enjoy your growing business. Help the people. And again, Mr. Moore, I'm so excited and so happy and honored to be here with you unloading this amazing topic.
Indeed. And to all the Planet Marketing reps out there, guys, again, get this down, Pat. And again, we weren't experts in the beginning. Mr. White always talks about, you got to get started, you're going to be bad. But you got to be bad before you get good. And you got to be good before you become great. And these two are great at the PS3. They show the plan more than anybody, right, throughout their organization, guys. And that's all we're doing is replicating this simple process as we round out these 3 weeks of training on the PS3. Peaking interest, showing the plan, third-party validation, guys. We trust that this was beneficial to you in some shape, form, or fashion. Please get with your coaches, get with your leaders, guys. All they're doing is replicating the process as well. Again, hundreds of directors, hundreds of ring wearers, and you are next. So thank y'all so much for joining us on this Wednesday training. This concludes the training for this week. We appreciate you guys. We're going to see you at the top or from the top, but it will be the very tip top. Thank y'all so much. Have a blessed night. Stay safe. Wash your hands.